Yeah.
No, you treat us good, though.
Spare no expense for you, David. You know what I mean? Like,
So-
we knew you were coming in. We were going to go all the way with it.
I appreciate it. I feel it.
Okay. So let's start with our first thing, which is let's just take a deep breath together. So I'll count us down. 1, 2, 3, and then we'll take one really deep breath in, one really deep breath out, and then we'll get this thing started.
Sounds good.
1, 2, 3.
All right.
Very relaxed.
Welcome to the Unscripted Room. Our theme today is building in real time, and our lens is through the eyes of two amazing young entrepreneurs who are in the very beginning of putting themselves out there to be able to, to build their vision and their dream to create their future. One of the things that I'm really interested in being able to jump into in this episode is that the two of you are focusing on building your vision and dream around a restaurant. And I would say that the absolute undeniable smartest way to be able to do a restaurant is to just make food that is delicious.
Definitely.
And I've had the opportunity to eat the food that the two of you are making. And I just want to start the whole episode off by saying that it's a 10 out of 10. It is amazing. So wherever we go for the rest of the episode, we just need to establish that you guys already have the recipe, the necessary recipe for success, which is that you made something that is absolutely fantastic, and now just got to kind of figure out how to put the X's and the O's together and where it goes from there. So welcome. Super excited to have both of you.
Thank
been
you
a
for having
pleasure.
us.
And as we talked about earlier, we're going to get this thing kicked off by just jumping right into a question. So Reem, if you want to grab the first question, and then we'll go around the table and we'll do questions in order so everybody gets a chance to read them.
Oh, fancy.
Yep.
You'll get a turn.
I like the purple.
Thank you.
You're nice and subtle.
That is our official color for the Unscripted Room.
Hold on, I'm struggling. Okay. How has starting this business changed the way you see yourselves?
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
Would you like to start, or would you like me?
Would it
I'd
be
say-
helpful to the two of you to go even further back before the business? Like what was it like for the two of you growing up? Where did you grow up? What's your origin stories before we even get into where we are now?
Well, for starters, both of us are not even we're not from Massachusetts.
Okay.
We both moved to New York, prime COVID time.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And whereabouts in New York?
Staten Island.
Yeah.
Okay.
You've
So-
been more around, but
I have. She grew up and, was born and raised in New York, and I grew up and was born there, but then I moved around. I've been to several states, including Ohio and back, and now I'm over here, so
Okay.
it's pretty fun.
And how did you end up in Amesbury? What was the journey that went from Staten Island to Amesbury? And did you know each other in New York? And
Yes.
then so you've been on this journey together from from Staten Island to Amesbury?
Correct.
yeah,
Wow.
absolutely. We've been together, what is it now, 7 years?
Wow.
We've been together
Good
since-
for you
Since
two.
high
All right.
school.
In 2017.
So it's definitely been a journey, but what really pushed me to move, definitely COVID had a portion of it.
Yeah.
Because obviously you're staying inside, it affected everybody, and I
Right.
feel like I was just losing my mind. I'm I need to do something. So when he gave me the opportunity, I was like, I have family, we have a place to stay. Would you like to come? I was like, it's now or never.
Mm-hmm.
You never know when's the right time. I could have waited when COVID died down and everything was safe, but I was like, I feel like this is a now or never. If I don't do this now, I'm not going to do it.
So you guys went from Staten Island to Amesbury in the middle of COVID?
To Newburyport.
Newbury-
To
Newburyport.
Newburyport.
But
Okay.
yes, in 2020, prime COVID almost.
Wow.
We had graduated. I think we were there for several months, and then COVID hit. And my goal overall was to move over here to figure out how Mass was as a whole.
Yeah.
Never having been over here besides visiting my uncle.
Yep.
And as she said, the opportunity arose, and I was like, "Hey, I'm going. Would you like to come?" And she was like, "I'm on board with that." So
Yeah, it was also, sorry, I lost my footing.
It's okay. That must have been a really you two had a very unique experience because most people got settled in during COVID into where they already had their footing. You two came into a completely new community to the two of you, and you had to go through COVID in that new community.
It was
Yes.
such
What was
like
that
a
like?
drastic difference.
I would say so.
Very
yeah.
drastic. Like New York, like it's a city that never sleeps.
Right.
Like you can go to the bodega down the street for
Yeah.
like it's like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
They'll still serve you food. Here we'd go out
Yes.
very late.
Newburyport's like asleep by 9. Is
yeah,
that what
like
you're-
asleep
yeah.
by
It
9.
was a
Stores
culture
are
shock.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh.
Stores are closed by 6. You're like, why is nothing open?
Yeah.
It was that first thing I said was like, oh my God, everybody here's so nice. Because New York is very, very like moving forward. Some are very aggressive.
Yeah.
So definitely it was like just a big culture shock. The dialogue was a big one.
Yeah.
Cause
This is true of, I would say, of New England in general, but New York, I found this to be more true of anywhere else that I've ever done training. But in New York, people are hard to break through their shell. You know, they're very rigid with you, and they love giving you shit. And that's part of the culture that you have to understand, that you have to
Yes.
learn how to play into that dynamic to some degree. But I've also found that when you break through that shell, if you can get in with somebody, you're like all the way in for life. There's no, you know, they mean it once you get to that point, where there's other parts of the country that you can travel to where it's a little bit easier to break through the shell. But then even when you're broken through, you don't know exactly where you stand for the long run. So I appreciate
agree.
the New York culture, because I think it's, we were talking out there about how important it is to try to be real.
Yeah.
You know, and in New York, you can find that. It just takes a little while to kind of figure out how you move through
you
the.
could find yourself, but New York is very, from what I learned, like moving here, New York is very fast paced.
Yes.
While here really taught you to like slow down.
Yeah.
Because immediately once we moved, my first thought is like, oh my God, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Because food wasn't even like my passion at the time.
Okay.
I just did the training because it was like a program in the school we went to.
Yep.
But then I found it more later on as like living here longer.
And so what was that change of pace like? How did you have to adjust yourselves?
That one was a rough one because, as you said, the city like never stopped. So like we were always doing something, or there was always an opportunity to do something. So for over here, it was a lot more like sitting back and like taking time to think about what's happening and like analyze yourself and your environment and what it is. Because realistically, over here, it feels like you're more in tune with nature. It's slower. You get nicer people. As you said, in New York, it's like more closed off. Everyone's super friendly over here, which was like crazy different. Because as she said, like, you know, people are like really rude over there, but like in a good way, because everyone's just trying to do what they can to survive.
Yeah.
So
Everybody's hustling in New York.
oh,
Yeah.
I've got a buddy who moved to New York. So we grew up in this area, and then he moved to New York, and he got married to a woman who lives in New York. He lives in Brooklyn.
Ooh.
And last year I went to go visit him, and we did like a bachelor party for him in Brooklyn. And everybody he introduced me to was hustling.
Always.
There was a hustle going on all the time. Like everybody had some sort of side gig that they were working on as they were doing this other job. It was like I really appreciated how hard everybody was trying to work, but it also felt like you couldn't quite figure out if everybody, where they were finding their opportunities to be able to be themselves.
Yeah.
You know, there was so many different angles to it.
With New York, I feel like there's so many opportunities to grow, which is why the city of dreams or whatever the case is, everyone wants to go to New York for these things. But the only thing that I find is that there's so many distractions. So it's always harder to like to take a step back and to figure out who you are as a person.
Yeah.
So that's why I feel like over here really sang to us in a sense, is
Like
because
we were really able to like find ourselves rather it just
Yeah.
being like, okay, come on, like next step in life, let's hurry it up.
Yeah. So maybe this brings us back to the question, which is, as you started to slow down a little bit and you found yourself, what did you find?
Definitely finding like refinding the passion for food, because it started in the beginning when in my high school program I went to Port Richmond. They have a really great culinary program that
Yeah.
we both were in,
Yeah.
and it was just like I thought of it as like just another class. I did all the like volunteering events. They were really great at finding opportunities for you. I signed up for everything, But at the end of the day, I always thought of it as like just another class. So when I moved here, like growing up, I was very like sick all the time. So it was, at first I was just thinking maybe it's just me. And then when I regrew like the passion for food, it was always something like bouncing job to job. It was always something I always went back to because I had the skill set.
Right.
And I found out like food in the end of the day is like medicine. Like I started changing my diet, focusing on what I needed. Like say if I had a night out, had too much to drink, what am I going to have the next day? Some people will just go for like just a pizza and a water and then they're like, oh, I'll be fine. Like, no, you need something healing to help your liver, to help your body. So I started like learning all these new different types of recipes to heal myself, and then not even just myself, him as well.
Right. And do you know what the ailment was? Was it something that was just symptomatic of the lifestyle that you were living, or was it that you were actually because people around here get Lyme all the time and have all kinds of stuff.
I feel like it could have been different factors. Like one big thing when we moved was the air. Just the air quality was such a big difference.
You don't think so until you go to New York, and then like it's a heavier chest feeling.
Really?
So like as she was saying, like it's overall just a lot healthier. So like the food and everything she does, I would say it's the lifestyle that you would live. So like she would find something that helps inflammation. When you heavy drink, it's inflammation. Then you want to detox your system and you want to hydrate certain cells.
Sure.
And so she would delve into what ingredients would help this. And I was a great test subject.
Well, how
Great
lucky
guinea
are
pig.
you that you just got to be like you just got to go out and have a great time, and then had somebody figuring out how to make you healthy on the other side?
She's a
How
sweetheart.
to make you feel
Oh
better
my
the next day
goodness.
before you go to work.
So she was a big portion, and I would say I was a great guinea pig. And the end.
What a team! What a team!
Like, especially when I'm making food, like, I like hearing that it's good, but it feels more rewarding when I make food for people, is when they can, like, psychoanalyze essentially what my goal of the food was without me telling you. Like, we've had that recently at events. Like, we'll have some people come up to me, like, I make gluten-free baked falafels, other than its traditional fried version, so it's a bit healthier and better for your gut. I had this lovely lady come up to me, and she was like, it tasted sweet in the beginning, but you get this really earthy balance, and I didn't feel guilty going back for a second plate.
Yeah.
And that just felt more rewarding than somebody saying, like, I appreciate every time whenever someone's like, it's good, but when they can actually, like, physically tell me, like, essentially explain the steps that I did without me telling them, it just feels so much more rewarding.
Well, it makes a lot of sense because, first of all, I've never heard anybody describe food the way that you described it. I thought that was quite beautiful, the way that you were saying that it's about understanding the balance of what the food is doing for your body. So if you are feeling imbalanced and then you continue to eat food that's only increasing the imbalance, then obviously it's going to go in the wrong direction for you. But if you were educated enough to understand that there were foods that could balance that out, like I have no education on this at all. So I find it fascinating that you were able to do the research and be able to understand these sort of yin and yang of what you needed to be able to do to offset one thing with the other, but to do it so rudimentary with the food that you're eating makes total sense when you say it out loud.
Definitely. And you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I do.
Sorry,
I gotta be polite.
It's okay. No, that's good.
So, remember we had the conversation out there about anime?
Yeah.
Would you believe that there is anime based off of food that we've watched? It's called Food Wars. It's a little out there, but honestly, they delve really heavy into the dynamics of food. And one of our favorite pastimes is sitting there and watching food, like anything food related, Bobby Flay or like Top Chef or anything like that.
Gordon Ramsay.
So over the time, that's one of our favorite pastimes. We'll sit there and watch other chefs, and then we'll absorb all that knowledge on top of all the training she had at school. And so it's like the little tidbits that you can absorb around you. It helps you strive for more. So then we'll be like, oh my God, like I've had this takeout once, and it's like, let's go try that. Why was it so good? How can I amplify this?
Let's
And
recreate this.
Yeah.
that's literally her specialty. She'll be like, man, this looked really good.
Yeah. I've heard it. So I've talked to other people who have described kind of what you guys are describing, which is it's almost like the difference between science and art. You know, when you, in one level, you're trying to understand the science of whatever you're interested in, why does it work? But then there's another layer to it where you get really passionate about it and you start looking for the artistry. And it sounds like you two found the science, and then you both invested simultaneously in making it into an art and kind of like studying exactly not only what could work for the gut, but also what could make it really delicious and what could make it something that that you want to go towards, not just something that you have to do to solve a problem.
And I feel like definitely like the crowd you're serving, like learning the crowd you are serving is very important.
Okay.
Aside from just making what you want to make, because like Amesbury is like has a little of everything. You have elderly, millennials, new families, Gen Z. You want to obviously appeal to everybody, but
Yeah.
I feel like it's important to know like different events bring different crowds. Like farmers markets brings more older people, young families. So you want to appeal to that group, while breweries are more like, people getting out of work. Families, like Brewery Savaticus is a big family-friendly brewery that we sell to. So you want to appeal to just everybody that's attending.
Would it be worth, guys, because I tried to give an introduction, but it was pretty vague. Do you guys want to get a little bit deeper into exactly what you're doing right now with your restaurant and where you're selling it, and give us some background to where you're at this moment?
More, more just trying to grow little by little. Like right now, we don't have a physical space.
Yep.
In the future, hopefully, but we don't have a physical space right now. We just rent out of Kitchen Local, run by
Which is amazing. When you told me about that, I didn't even know that existed. But what a great idea!
It's very hidden, like right down Cedar Street, like you're heading to Cider Hill by Fat Cat's Bistro. That's where the kitchen's located.
Yep.
And this lovely lady, Lisa, she runs the kitchen, and she helped me through everything. Like, I had no knowledge in this stuff. So while she gives you a great consultation, she explains everything, like gives you resources to look into while you're starting out.
Amazing.
So she's a very big help. And then everybody, before we even scheduled a meeting with her, we just did market research before we started everything. So attending other markets, like Tuscan Village in Salem, New Hampshire, when they had their Christmas market, we were just going around talking to every vendor and getting insight and kind of a reality check.
Yeah.
My apologies.
No,
So
you don't have to apologize.
We were talking about the lady Lisa. I mean, she gives us a lot of insight and everything, but would you believe that as soon as we got the confirmation that we had the space and everything, she went out of her way and got herself every event that we've had. Already started talking to everyone that she can. Hey, this is what I'm going to do. I would love to be with you because you are our image, which I got to do a shout out to Savaticus. They're actually from our
hometown, same high
Really?
school,
Yeah.
the owners.
The people who own Savaticus.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
It's a small world, so
Yeah.
it was meant to be. So they actually came from the same place we did and loved her cuisine and the fact that she put herself out there. So literally as soon as she got it, she just immediately started going, hey, so I need an audience. Would you like to sponsor essentially? So
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So Reem, this morning I was getting a bowl, and Rain was there.
Okay.
And I asked her, I said, we're doing our podcast tonight. And I just said, give me a little bit of background on anything that I should know. And she gave you such high compliments. She basically just said that you're an unbelievably authentic person, that you're extremely ambitious, and that anytime you point your mind and your spirit towards something, that you're basically an immovable object until you are able to get there. And we all agreed that the food that the two of you make, the food that you're making and serving, is a 10 out of 10. So,
Thank you.
it was a cool experience because it was organic and natural, but she was so eager to give you not only compliments about what you're doing with your food, but also just who you are, the character that you have, what it is to work with you on a day-to-day basis there, but also how supportive everybody is there for the future that the two of you have.
Definitely. She was one of the main sellers that we do at every event, like the gluten-free baked falafel. She was my guideline. Because she, out of respect for her, she has celiac. So I was like, how can I appeal to someone that has this, that they can eat it without feeling like sickly.
Yeah.
So when I made it, I was like, I want to do it baked rather than fried, so it's healthier on the gut. She's gluten-free. how can I make this so she can eat it? Switch out the regular flour or semolina flour used in traditional recipes, switch it for oat flour for the nutty flavor. Like analyzing every little thing and using like somebody I know as like, how would I know? Like, how can I make this so that they like it?
So can I ask some business questions that are going through my head as you're saying all of this? So it's unbelievably compassionate that you're finding ways to be able to create these recipes that that work for people who are having gut issues or anything. But how do you do that at scale? How do you make those and know who's going to buy based on the uniqueness of the bodies that come and purchase this stuff?
I feel like it's good to know people that like are willing to taste test for you. And especially when we do events like at Sabbaticus, like we tell people with 100% honesty, this is in the testing stage. Like, we'd love your opinions so that way we can make it better. Like, I was trying to make like this hot sauce and it was really good, but like one event there was like a lot of herbiness and less spiciness. One event there, next event it's very spicy. So I like that, at least like with the crowds that we're getting, they're very nice and understanding. So I can be like, this is still testing right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm a pretty big proponent of that people are nice, but you two are obviously doing a lot of work to be kind to people, and that's the obvious response that you'd get back in return. Is if you're putting yourself out there and being like, hey, listen, we're doing our best to make the most delicious food that is in the best interest of you. It would take a real bastard to come back and be unkind to that. You know what I mean? So the two of you are doing a great job of setting yourself up for success by being honest and being transparent about what it is that you're trying to do. That's a great way to garner community support because it's real.
A lot of the time, whenever I go up to the customers or whatnot, I always ask and I encourage, in fact, like, hey, we tried it a little bit different this time, or like if there was anything that would disinterest you, let us know what the feedback is. And because of the fact that it's a community effort, we want to see how everyone's reacting, because no matter how good her food is to me, someone else might have an opinion, but majority rules. So overall, where it stands is the more feedback we get from the community, the more we draw in, the finer we're able to fine tune it. But I have faith in her food automatically. So if I like it, I'm sure everyone else will.
Aw. We talk about this all the time. Oliver and I were just having this conversation earlier today, that one of the things that seems to be a really good idea when you're starting a business is to not focus on other people's opinions, to make sure that you 100% believe in your own product and what it is that you're doing, and that it's a reflection of you. And then you get to go figure out who's also in that marketplace with you. I don't think that that's in contrast to what you guys are doing. Like, I think that you figured out the genre in which you wanted to be able to do that, and now you're fine tuning your recipes to understand, where is your sweet spot. It sounds like is what's happening. But I think it's really beautiful that the two of you support each other so wholeheartedly. It sounds like you love the exploration of just trying to figure out what it is that you want to make, and then the tweaking of that until it's right where it needs to be, and that you get to taste test it and be like, hell yeah, I'll go out and ask people to eat this. Like, I know for sure that this thing is awesome, and why not? Like, why wouldn't you? The best version of selling anything is just sharing with somebody something that you already believe. You know what I mean? Because then you're not actually really selling. You're just saying like, hey, listen, this is my perspective on where I'm coming from. This stuff is amazing. If you want to give it a try, I think you'll find the same thing is true for you. But if not,
everyone has their own opinion.
Exactly.
But as you said, my favorite part is being taste tester. So then she'll be like, what do you think of this? And I'd be like, all right, what if we like tone this back or put this in? And like, I help her fine tune everything. She comes to me with a great idea because she does the research and everything. And I can't take any credit for the cook. All right. Like, everything comes from her. I just help fine tune it and, put it out there and oversell it, because the skill comes from the chef over here.
So have you guys always had this level of, I always find it very interesting when I meet people who started their romantic relationship in high school, because it's such a powerful time to build that bond. Have you always been this supportive of each other in the entirety of your relationship? Like, has this been the level of? I feel
like it was definitely learned. Like, throughout the process is learned, like, aside from just how we are now, like we definitely had our struggles. Like communication's a really big one,
Really
and that
big.
we had to learn over time. Like we both didn't really want to fight with each other
Yeah.
whenever we like just had disagreements, but it's something that you kind of have to get through.
Well, communication is particularly complicated because one of the themes that comes up in this podcast all the time is what's the difference between nurture and nature? And communication is 100% nurture, right? Like you inherit patterns of other people's communication, and that's really all you know is the pattern that they gave you.
Yeah.
And so it really takes a great relationship with a partner to be able to be like, well, do we want to keep these patterns or do we want to break these patterns as far as the way that we're going to choose to communicate with each other? Because it's really difficult to understand what the contrast is between good communication and not healthy communication if you're not seeing that balance.
I would say even now with the years that we've had, communication is significantly better. As she said, it's a learned thing.
Yep.
But I would say overall communication is still something that needs to be sorted because you're still going through individually your own daily stress on top of trying to come back
Yeah.
and meet in the middle and like kind of have a safe space. So sometimes you would have to like, I wouldn't say disregard in a sense, but like you have to take a step back from how you feel sometimes to understand how the other person's feeling,
Yeah.
which is not always something that is easy to do. It's complicated because you don't want to disregard how you feel, but you also don't want to disregard how they feel. So then you meet in the middle. Sometimes you talk a little bit about how you felt this time, or you just absorb how they feel because sometimes it's just give and take.
Yeah.
So
Over time too, the deeper you go into that thought that you're having right now, you can even get to the point where you can start to learn to just observe your own thoughts and feelings and realize that they're not you.
yeah,
That they're most of the time thoughts and feelings are provoked by the environment that you're in or the
Definitely.
interaction that you're having. So if you can calm down and you can remember that they're, if you can find that emotional regulation to understand that your thoughts and feelings are like almost like if you thought of them like they're your sense of smell. Where if you
Makes
walked
sense.
into a room, the sense of smell is so important because you know what food is cooking in the room. It might be something that reminds you of the past. It might be something that makes you feel good. It might make you feel bad. But you wouldn't necessarily get upset just because you smell something that is making you have a reaction.
yeah.
But thoughts and feelings, we don't think of that way. We think of thoughts and feelings as being an identity that we're attached to, which is what makes it so hard in a relationship when all of a sudden you've got these thoughts and feelings that are butting up against each other. It really does feel like it's two identities that are bumping up against each other, but that doesn't always necessarily have to be the case. Sounds like the two of you have had tremendous growth together, though. That's a huge accomplishment.
Definitely, and it's like trying to learn each other's like our own dynamics, and then like you're learning how to adult.
Yeah.
And then now with the business, now you're learning how to run a business, and then like little things that comes with adulting, like
Yeah.
the housing, your daily routines, common interests. There's
Yeah.
many different factors.
Yeah. You asked me when we came into the room, but we weren't in the podcast yet, but you asked me if I had gone to college.
Yeah.
And the answer was that I had gone to college for a short amount of time, 3 semesters, and then I dropped out and I started a business. And I would say that that was the greatest education I could have possibly had. It didn't work out. And I've started numerous businesses that have had some level of working out or not working out, but every single one that I have done has been an amazing learning experience. And so I think in a lot of ways that's true of businesses, it's true of relationships. Anything that you continue to invest in and that you become more invested in is an opportunity to be able to every day sort of figure out what's working, what's not working, how do I fine tune it. But in the end, it always comes back to the same thing, which is, do you want to be great at it or do you not want to be great at it?
Makes sense.
Because if you end up giving yourself a mindset where you're okay with mediocre, then you end up making decisions on how you're focusing on, improving whatever it is that you're doing to that level. But if you take your business, take your relationship, you take any of those things and you're like, you know what, we're both invested in being fucking awesome at this. and that is the attitude that we're going to take, and that's how we're going to, build our mindset towards whatever you're doing. It's unbelievable how quickly two people can start to align on better ideas and find momentum in what they're doing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And it's just, we play by each other's strengths, like as we've said over there. Like, I'm the introvert, but at the same time, I love creating everything, creating new recipes, testing it out, going through the experimental phase. While he's more of like the extrovert, he can get people talking. Like, you have the gift of gab, like that I don't. So he can like really like psychoanalyze, like if I need opinions on like a new recipe I'm testing out, or just drawing in customers. Like, he's really good at that. Well, I'm not so much. Like,
so, not to take anything away from you, because you clearly have a gift of gab and you're very talented at it. But I just want to point out that, I come in and see you every day. And I do understand that you tend to be more quiet, but I don't find that to be at all that you are not good at it. I actually find that to be the opposite. I find you to be an extremely authentic person who, when we have an opportunity to be able to converse, I don't ever feel like it comes with an angle that you're trying to give me. It just feels like you're coming straight at talking to me for real. And so I think you might be underselling what your capabilities are as a communicator, because you're real. And I think that most people that I've ever talked to, that's the number one thing we're all looking for, is somebody who will just be authentic. Now, you, since the moment you walked in tonight, could tell that you do have a gift for charisma.
I can indeed be charismatic. It is a learned trait I have learned through socializing with plenty of people through my life.
Yeah.
As you've stated, I do agree she can. I can tell she feels comfortable with you, because typically she's like nice and, disconnected.
I'm
she's
like
like,
a very
no.
goofy person, but there's times I could like at Juice House, there's times I force myself to be serious.
Yeah.
Especially when like we get new customers, like, oh, I have never been here before. I'm like, all right, serious mode.
Yeah.
All right, what can I help you with? Like, any questions? But then if like when you come in, like you come in all the time, so I'm like, okay, I don't need to be as serious.
Yeah.
I know you.
Yeah. I think that's, when we were doing training in the car business, one of the things that we would talk about all the time was like, what's the difference between the way that you should act when you have somebody who walks into your establishment for the first time, versus what it's like for somebody who's now a repeat customer. And I used to always use the analogy that I think it's almost exactly the same thing as if you have somebody over to your house for the first time. It's like you should just slow down and walk them around and maybe give them an idea of where they are, and give them a version of what you're offering that makes them feel welcomed. But then eventually, if you become somebody who's there all the time, you don't want that anymore. You know what I mean? Because you want to be accepted as somebody who's like walking in and just like you've lost your guestum, and you just sort of walk into the house and kick off your shoes and sit down on the couch and start having a great conversation with each other. So
all the rules and do's and don'ts.
I think that one of the things that I hope that maybe this conversation can be, but conversations in general, is just that for whatever reason, when we were kids, they taught us that there's like a version of you while you're at work, and there's a version of you while you're at school, and there's a version of you while you're at home, and there's a version of you while you're with your friends. I think that that's very damaging to people to think of themselves that way, because the truth is that it's just you and you're at school. It's just you and you're at work. It's just you and you're with your friends. And there's all different parts of you that can be dynamically more interesting or interested depending on the environment that you're in. But you don't want to create a version of yourself for all of those different places, because then you lose track of who you really are once you start creating those personalities.
I would say
I could see that.
you are really good at this.
Yeah.
I would say that it is a stressful thing, because then it starts developing something like a split personality, like who am I? It's an identity crisis almost. Mm-hmm. But then not only that, but it's exhausting to keep up these different faces in front of people. Mm-hmm. So if you dedicate too much to one side, you start losing your authentic self.
Yes.
And you lose passion for the things you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think something we've been trying to do since, high school is try to stay true to who we are. So like we always try to speak as straightforward as we can and try not to cut around any corners, because realistically no one wants to play any games of tag. we're not kids anymore. So
Yeah.
realistically, where it is, it's like, this is who I am. This is what I want. Now, you can either accept that or you can't. And obviously, not everyone's cup of tea, but throughout time, you find connections and people who like you for who you are,
Yeah.
and it just feels more rewarding because now you put less energy into this facade that you have, and you're being your authentic self, and you find people who are willing to continue to support you
Yeah.
for you.
Yep.
And in that sense, I feel like I agree. Like, that mask is ridiculously toxic almost that we generate just to feel like someone else appreciates us. So
I was having two thoughts while you were saying that. One is that one of the things that's really valuable about trying to figure out how you try to reduce, if not get rid of your own masks as much as you possibly can, is that it also makes you very aware when somebody else is wearing one. And
Correct.
it's when you are wearing one, it's very difficult to tell when somebody else is wearing one, because it's like you don't want to admit to yourself that you're wearing a mask, so you allow somebody else's mask to also start this charade that you're going back and forth on, and it gets very confusing as to what's real and what's, on the other side. But in a relationship between two people who love each other, I don't think that there's a greater thing that you can accomplish than to be able to come home to somebody who you can put all of that down and just be real. Like that's like, every relationship has ups and downs. Every relationship, two people have to learn how to navigate the ups and downs of a relationship together.
yeah.
But if you can have somebody that you go home and you can be real with, like, man, there's really not a whole lot that those two people can't accomplish in the long run if you are able to hold on to that. That's pretty powerful stuff.
I would say I'm a pain to deal with, and luckily she has the patience of a saint.
Give us some examples of how you might be a pain in the ass on a regular basis.
Dude,
Oh my God.
my philosophy is, if I can't annoy you, why are we together? If you
Okay.
can't deal with my everyday annoyances,
Okay.
it's hard because, as you said, there's this facade. So most people want to seem perfect or not hinder the other. My true sense of being together is, man, maybe I just want my alone time, our own time. We go do our own things.
Sure.
And then other times, maybe I just want to impede on your personal time. Hey, how you doing?
Maybe you
I
look
love
too
you.
peaceful.
You ever watch Lilo and Stitch?
I know it.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
I'm aware.
You know the scene where he's like, "I'm not touching you," and they're really connecting, but you can clearly she's getting annoyed, but he's being his authentic self. I'm Stitch and she's Lilo.
That sounds playful
Pretty
and
much.
flirty.
It keeps it exciting.
Yeah. We, to whatever degree this also plays into relationships, the one thing that we have found is for sure that adults learn best when they're playing, which is really a crazy concept. It's not a crazy concept to imagine that that's true. It's a crazy concept to think that adults, for some reason, don't understand that that is true. It's like they love to play when they're kids. And then all of a sudden, when you stop being a kid and you become an adult, it's like all of a sudden everybody thinks that they have to be serious all the time, and that only serious is the only way to learn. But the truth is that you learn best when you're playing. And a good example of this is if you still play sports or you stay active in any way, you realize that I play a lot of basketball.
Fancy.
And I have learned more on the basketball court about life than I have learned from almost anywhere else in life. Once you get out there on the court, you realize, especially over a long period of time, if you play with the same people, you realize, who am I when we're losing?
Okay.
Who am I when we're winning? Do I pass the ball when I should? Am I shooting when I should? Do I am I afraid to take a shot? There's all of these things that you have to figure out about where your securities and your insecurities exist to be able to make sure that you show up for the other people that you're playing with and you give your full effort so that you can try to win the game.
Fair enough.
Definitely.
And there's so many different parts of an adult life that you don't get to play that out. At work, it's not such a clear-cut line of still making sure that you are figuring out how to bring your best to everything that you're doing, because there's other dynamics that play into it that we forget we could just have more fun with. Yes, sir.
hate to be the one to receive an "I told you so." I gotta use the restroom, man.
You do? Okay. Yeah, let's pause. Go use the restroom.
We told you.
Do you have, you got that pause? Okay. We're back.
Hey, sorry for the interruption, man. You made me too comfortable. It's great here.
Okay, good. That's a good. That's
Your body
a good,
truly relaxed.
Yeah, that's a good place for us to be. So yeah, we're back. Took a bathroom break, but we were just having a conversation about the fact that your dad had a restaurant when you were a kid, and that must have been culturally a piece of what has made this adventure really fun. To some degree, it must have set some sort of.
It definitely
seed.
like ignited the dream when it happened, because I was very young when it started, but it was like right when I was beginning the culinary like training at school. So obviously you dream big, you're like, this restaurant's gonna be mine. Like I was learning everything from like the bartenders that were there, the chefs all the way in the back. I was the kid that always got kicked out of the kitchen because they were being annoying. But it definitely like ignited the dream, but obviously he didn't really have much experience in the restaurant industry, in the food industry, so it didn't really last long.
Yeah.
But I learned so much through that experience, and then it was a great area, but you could tell like the restaurant industry is hard depending on where you station yourself.
Yeah.
Because around, he owned a steakhouse, but around the area was primarily Italian restaurants. So it was really hard to compete.
Yeah.
So that was like what really started it. But like I had no interest in food whatsoever in the very beginning. Like I really wanted to be a full-time artist, but I couldn't keep going with it.
Yeah. What kind of art do you do?
Primarily like painting. Like painting, I got more into graphic design later on, but I would be like in my room for hours. My mom would have to remind me like, you need to eat, you need to drink water.
Wow.
Like I would be at it for hours, but later on I developed like issues with my hands. Like it hurts now to do it.
Wow. What kind of learners are the two of you? It seems like you're the. I'm gonna take a guess here that when you start to focus on something, you can't even pull yourself back from it. That you're all in until you feel like you've gotten to where you need to be. Is that define you as a learner too, or do you have a different way of?
I would say I would agree to that. I also like knowing the technical standpoints, like the idea behind it.
Yeah.
And then generally grasping what the norm would be or the general concept. If I can hit that or exceed it, then I feel like I've learned enough of it. Besides that, I mean, like, it's hard because book learners, I don't understand how they do that. I can't do just books, so I think I'm like an in-between of both. I like being more hands-on, though.
Yeah. You need to see something, put
Break
it
it
together,
apart.
take it apart, put it together. Yeah.
So then I understand how it works, why it works, how it does, and,
Right.
you know, that type of thing.
Which is kind of amazing that that's not a skill that they teach you in school.
It's weird, dude.
Because it's like, I don't think it would be an exaggeration to say that it's at least 50% of what you should be doing when you're done with school is learning how to take things apart and putting them back together.
I
Like
agree.
the knowledge of knowing how to do that is tremendous. And people who don't think that way sacrifice a lot in life. You know, if you have no idea how your car works and you just get into your car and you drive it every day and something goes wrong, how do you solve that problem? Right? Versus if you have even a basic understanding of how your car works, then you've got options at that point. Doesn't mean that you're gonna come up with some miraculous solution, but at least you have some starting point to be able to figure things out.
I just got to bring attention. I do appreciate that you always bring back the car analogies, considering you know that I work in mechanics as a full-time.
Once he brings it in, it's like
Dude,
a light bulb sets
it's
off.
literally like an instant
Well, it's something that we
connection.
share too, right? Because I also have experience there as well.
So I do appreciate it. And it's crazy how many people don't even know the basics of their car. How do I check a dipstick? How do I know my tire is low? What is this issue? And it's so absurd. Because
He's
if you
teaching
just
me now and I'm struggling.
she teaches me food and I teach her cars.
Yeah.
So it's just absurd to me that people don't take that extra step for that level of understanding because they're just content that someone else is in the field and they just think because someone else will tell them what their issues are, they are too afraid or too neglectful of learning. And I feel like life itself, you can learn so much. So it's not like, let's say, for instance, as I said, she's learning mechanics from me and I'm learning food from her. Her
Amazing.
primary passion is food. So for the time that she takes to learn the little bit that I'm trying to teach her in case, like, let's say worst case scenario, she breaks down on the side of the road.
Yeah.
These little things that I'm teaching her, she can absorb and use later on in case of anything.
Yeah.
And these are skills that people should, in my opinion, learn and take the time if someone's trying to teach you, because there's so much you can learn around you.
We talked about outside, like the main goal of what we're trying to do is just to make a case for curiosity, right? Like, not that we're trying to convince anybody that they need to do it, but we're just saying like, hey, this is pretty awesome. If you actually think about what curiosity is, it is an underused skill set for what you can get out of it, because what it really demands of you is that you become a lifelong learner, that you are just curious about as much as you possibly can be. And it's difficult because I know enough about a vehicle that if I had to get myself out of a pinch, I could figure out what I need to do, how it works. But if the Wi-Fi stops working, like, I don't know how Wi-Fi works. I don't know, like, I don't know how my computer, I wouldn't be able to take that apart and put it back together. So there's so many things that other people have been able to master that if you slowed down and every time you were around somebody who had some level of mastery, you're like, teach me, just give me a little bit. Just give me as much as I can absorb for this moment so that next time I walk into this situation, I'm not at 0, I'm at like 2% knowledge. And then the next time I could be at 4% knowledge and 6%. And you two must be an amazing pair for each other, because she's amping you up in food and you're amping her up in how mechanical things work. And that's a great combination if you want to start a restaurant at some point. Because a restaurant is 50% mechanical bullshit that you got to keep your eye on at any given time, because stuff breaks all the time. And it's 50% making sure that your product is amazing and that people want to come back and eat it all the time. So there's no version of doing a business where both of those skill sets aren't extremely necessary to be successful.
I agree.
I feel like it's also important, like bringing it back to the whole relationship thing and the business is, I feel like it's important, aside from having your own interests, having interests you both can share.
Yeah.
Because like outside of him just teaching me cars, like we both are very like car fanatics. Like he knows more of the interior work, while I know more of like.
He sold me on his dream car. I know what he's after.
Well,
Did you say Skyline?
I did. Technically, yes. It's the original GTR. It's the Nissan. It's the 1970s version.
I can see you two driving around Amesbury in that thing.
Yeah, well, mine is like a 1992 Mazda Miata.
Oh, I raced Miatas for like 10 years.
Dude, they're a blast to drive. I just learned in the last couple of years, because I'm a mechanic, so I had to drive manual. And I was like, honey, you need to drive manual. She's like, I don't think I can deal with it. I'm like, you're going to have to learn manual.
My very undiagnosed ADHD is like screaming, like I won't be able to learn manual.
Yeah. You know what's cool about learning a manual is that when you first think about what it is that you're doing, it seems impossible that you'd be able to get your hands and your leg to move in coordination like that.
Yeah.
But it becomes it's like typing without looking at the keyboard. Like it seems impossible when you put your hands on the keyboard for the first time that these things would be able to figure out how to do that. But then it is an amazing example of how you get good at anything you practice.
Muscle memory.
Muscle memory kicks in, and then when you get into the level of like performance driving, the muscle memory kicks in another level. I just did a podcast last week. I think it's podcast number 3. But anyways, my brother came in and we did a whole podcast about racing. Ooh. And the theme of the podcast was risk versus reward, and what both of us had learned from racing that also applied to running businesses, because he owns a business as well that builds clean rooms called Airtho. And there was a lot that went into what we had learned from going through all the phases of learning how to race that ended up being direct parallels to what it was like to start to try to figure out how you apply that to something that's outside of the competition side and gets into the business side. As long as you're learning, it's applicable everywhere. I think that's kind of the main takeaway, and it sounds like the two of you have done a great job of being active learners at all times.
Yeah, I would say it's not as easy as it sounds. Not everyone's able to do it.
Yeah, like it'll be mentally exhausting sometimes. Like say if like I work a full shift and then I have to get my car fixed. Any like repairs with my car, automatically he's like, you're coming to help so you can learn.
Yeah.
So I'll be mentally tapped out from working, and then he's like, well, we have to do your oil change and rebalance your tires.
I tell her she has to work a double, and then I get out of work and she goes, hey, you got to work a double, come help me cook. And I'm like, oh, fantastic.
Yeah. It affects both ways.
But it's also kind of awesome that you do that for each other, and that you've known each other for long enough that you can do that. Because in the beginning of romance, there's no way you're asking somebody to get out of work and go do the other thing. Like you're just but when you get to a comfort level with that other person and it's like, hey, listen, I love you and there is romance here, but like we're past that phase and now we're just going to get into the how do we live how do we make sure that we don't play this out with each other in a way that makes one person resentful.
Yeah, that is a hard part about long relationships.
Very
they don't say, dude.
That
And relationships seemed easy until you actually get into one. And as we've stated, it's been a work in progress. And in the beginning, I mean, I was treated like princess. She's a sweetheart. I don't know if you've noticed by talking to her all the time. She's so kind-hearted by nature.
That's the
And
impression that I've gotten. Yeah.
I was that original New Yorker where I was like closed off. And even though she was a New Yorker, she didn't give that energy. Although she did hate me in the beginning.
Yeah, I actually did not like him.
What actual age did you two meet each other?
Ooh, what is it, 2017?
Yeah, we started dating 2017.
You'd be 16, I'd be 17?
Okay, so high school, like
Yeah.
sophomore, junior year in high school, is that
Somewhere
right?
around there, yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much.
And the first impression was,
I did not like you.
why? Why did you not like him?
He was
I mean, look at him.
very-
How could you not like him? Look
He
at
was
this.
Right, thank you.
Yeah,
He
zoom
grew.
in on him for a second, Oliver. Look how handsome he is. Come on.
He grew, I will say. It's more of like the common New Yorker. You're very full of yourself. He's very full of himself.
I've
Well-
become more humbled.
Well, yes, thanks
Was
to moi.
that was that secure or was that bravado that you're putting on? Because at that age, I don't know a single dude at that age that doesn't feel pretty insecure. Like it's a really difficult age to go through. I've raised two young men and I've watched them go through that age too. So was it a bravado that you were?
I would say that's a really good analytical view. It was really like to shoot back to our earlier portion. It was more of a facade.
Yeah.
So it was that mask that I put on, and it was something that I had learned because it was something I was trying to develop. So, you know how they say surround yourself with people that you would like to be like.
Yeah.
So I had, and I still have this very great friend. He ended up becoming a New York cop. He's been on the force for years now since college. And he's very confident, and it was something I always envied. So it was something that I masked almost and like copied until I started believing it in a sense. And that cockiness just came off a little too much, I guess.
Yeah.
That confidence, it came off more like cocky.
Started very strong.
Yeah, and she detested me. It took maybe a year or so of us knowing each other, and then like slowly but surely, she started going like, maybe I do like this kid. So
You grew on her.
Yeah.
I did.
yeah.
But I'm guessing the opposite wasn't true. You were initially you were into her from the very beginning. Otherwise, you wouldn't have continued to pursue for the year, right?
Actually, fun fact, it was the opposite.
You two were magnets in the opposite direction, and
Yeah.
then somehow you both flipped your magnets over and became attracted.
yeah.
She grew to like me, and back again, she mentioned the fact that we were both in culinary. So honestly, her show of affection was food and stuff. So she started making me lunches for school, and I've known you had to have school lunches. They're not always the best.
Yeah.
So she would always take time out of her day and make me something.
Wow.
And so no matter how good or how bad it was, I would always eat it with great gratitude because it's something that you made me that you didn't need to.
100%.
And I would give honest feedback, which she hated and still
I was
hates.
really bad at taking criticism in the beginning. Now I welcome it. I'm like, please, like,
Well, that's a real sign of growth. Defensiveness is a clear indicator of feeling insecure about something, but welcoming people's feedback as an opportunity to grow is an unbelievable sign of security. So that's a huge.
it's definitely over time, like, especially like being with him for as long as we have. It's in the beginning I was very emotional, but obviously like teen girls, you're very emotional in the very beginning.
I've heard.
And
I've heard
then
that's
as
something
you,
that they go through.
yeah, and as you grow, like I've become more logical. Like I don't like I'll be sad about something, but at the same time I like put thought to it. Like why am I sad? Like
Yeah.
and put like say if it's like a tiff that we had, like put his opinion on it. Like not just think of purely me.
This question is happening in real time, but I'm just curious because of the way the two of you described it, is that it wouldn't be wild to think that the way, now, first of all, what I'm about to say is a generalization, which means that it never works for the individual person, but it might be an interesting thought if we think about it holistically for large groups of people.
Okay.
But typically, when young women are going through adolescence, they tend to have more emotionally bound ups and downs that they're trying to figure out. Young men, on the other hand, tend to have more behavioral ups and downs, but not necessarily based on emotions, sometimes just having a hard time figuring out how to reapply the logic to the changing world and infrastructure of what they're trying to figure out. More responsibility requires more improved logical thinking. It's almost like the best version of ourselves is when we start to find that sort of masculine, feminine crossover where men can start tapping into how they become more comfortable with their emotions a little bit, and women start to feel like they can be more comfortable with figuring out what is that mixture between emotions and logic that give that more accurate read on what your gut is. But I think it's the same thing for all of us, which is just once you get to the mixture of those two, what you're really trying to figure out is, can you listen to your gut?
Yeah.
And, I'm 44 years old. I've had this conversation with Oliver within the last couple of days. I look back at my life. I've made many mistakes, all of which I'm happy to share in any way that I can if it helps anybody else. But the one thing that I know for sure is that my gut was never wrong at any of the times that I made those mistakes. My gut was always telling me the right answer, and I was just too insecure to listen to it, which is such an interesting concept as you get older to be able to think back. But it sounds like the two of you are already figuring out how to communicate from your gut to each other.
It's been a work in progress with the communication aspect. I'm sure we've hit several times during this. With her emotional side, I was more detached because I was always raised on logic, and vice versa. So where it stands is like we kind of helped gauge off of each other, and the long-standing relationship on how do I fix this or how do I go about this, and self-analyzing is just something that's really, really difficult to go through. But at the end of the day, we found that there needed to be a little bit of each to kind of balance it. And it is incredibly hard, especially through adolescence.
It sucks to look in ugly mirrors.
Dude.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like when you've got to look in a mirror and be like, oh, God.
You ever wake up in the morning and go, man, I did not sleep much. I look like shit. Because that's really what it is that you have to look at yourself and be like, maybe this portion is what I need to fix. And like you wake up in the morning and go, my hair's a mess, or I'm a little sweaty from last night, or I need to brush my teeth. Like these little things that you point out and you want to fix is the same thing in anything really that you take and apply. As we have already mentioned, you can take and apply anything that you've learned in life and just put it somewhere else. It just takes a little bit of thought. And what is it, a step back almost?
Yeah. And maybe just to start remembering that maybe it's all the same. You know what I mean? Maybe
Life's
it's
life.
Maybe like when you notice that something's not right physically, you still have the option of being able to figure out, well, what could the solution be for me to be able to like brush my teeth, comb my hair, do the things that are necessary for me to feel dapper, to walk into a room and feel confident about, yourself, how you feel. The same is true for your emotions. If you're starting to realize that like you're looking in an emotional mirror and you're like, I don't like that I'm feeling negative feelings all the time. There is the option to be able to analyze that and be like, all right, well, what is the thing that's making me feel a negative thought?
Yeah.
Could I go back to that thing, that action, and see, could I replace what seems to be a negative action that's giving me a negative consequence? Could I pull that out? And could I replace it with a positive action that could give me a positive consequence in the same way that you can like, oh, my teeth feel like they're not brushed. I could brush my teeth. That same basic idea can apply there as well.
I agree.
I've got an idea.
Okay.
What do you say we move on to question 2?
Ooh.
And we see what question 2 is, which is coming your way.
Oh my, I get to read.
Well, that was a
Ooh.
decent toss, but I'm going to give you a better one before the end of the...
I feel like we did we actually touch up on question 1 enough?
I think if you read the question, you'll realize we did, which is...
Did we hit it? I trust the host.
Well,
I trust the
well,
host.
How is starting this business change the way you see yourselves?
Oh, we did.
We did.
Wow, we just got so into it. So, time for a reveal.
Okay, here we go.
What helped you keep building when you realized how much work it would actually take? Okay. So, can I start?
Yeah, go.
I would say what helped us keep building, or me particularly, was the satisfaction and excitement that came from her end.
Okay.
Because this was something that we had talked about growing up. She was really excited, and this was something that she always kept referencing was her father's restaurant, as we've already mentioned. And originally, again, she came from a different major, and we got into this, and the more we got into it, the more she realized her passion was there. And as difficult as this may be, because balancing full-time jobs and, you know, doing this and trying to get it to kick up, it's really, really hard. But what makes it more worth it is the fact that she gets excited. So as stressed as she is, and you can tell if you know, are with someone long enough, it's worth it because at the end of the day, she's excited. That excitement is the drive that helps me keep going. She puts all the thought into it. I help fine tune it. So her ideas, I just help make a reality in a sense. Not that I can take credit or attribute to her putting herself out there and getting herself opportunities. But
No, you've been amazing this whole night of being very humble about exactly what that is. But I do think that I would guess that you would agree.
Yeah, honestly,
it's-
I feel like I wouldn't even be like at the step I am now and trying to grow even further without him at my
Yeah.
side personally.
Yeah. I've done it both ways. I've done it, you know, I built things by myself. I've built things with people. It's amazing when you get to build with somebody else because it's so fun when you get to go home and you get to share that feeling with somebody else. It's actually very, very close to what it is to have a kid with someone.
I feel like it also makes you feel less alone.
Yeah.
Like you have someone else, you're like you're trying to fix this problem, but it's not just you dealing with it. Like you have someone with you.
You have somebody with you. You also have somebody who you know cares about what it is that you're trying to do and what it is that, you know, they care about solving the problem as much as you do, which is a really rare thing in life because there's so often that you end up going through so many experiences where only you are feeling whatever the high or the low of that experience is. And it can be almost existential when you go through those things where it just reminds you that consciousness is a singular experience. No matter how much you get to know somebody else, they'll never know what it is to be your consciousness, and you'll never know what it is to be their consciousness.
Yes.
So it's like a cheat code that we all have where if you fall in love with somebody and you're able to be completely honest with them at every level, it's about as close as you could get to sharing one singular consciousness is to get to that level, which I think is also why it's so intoxicating for all of us. You know, when you can find somebody that you not only are in love with, but that you can also kind of like build that momentum with.
makes sense.
That's our 1 hour mark.
Wow.
Is that a 1 hour mark, including the bathroom break or not including the bathroom break?
Darn, I made us lose like 5-10 minutes, guys.
Including the bathroom? No, that's
Damn it,
pretty amazing.
David.
All right, so let's go. Let's not move away from this question yet because I don't know that you got a chance to answer it. Was there anything that you were thinking?
Can we repeat the question just to get my refresher?
What helped you keep building when you realized how much work it would actually take?
I feel like at the end of the day, there's also like a partial selfishness
Yep.
that has like a part in it. Because at the end of the day, like I have a lot of people I care about and I truly love, like aside from my family, his family, the selfishness of like, honestly, I want to be able to take care of everybody.
Yeah.
But I know in some aspects, like that's possible, but that's also impossible. So it's just trying to grow this from my perspective, like trying to display the love that I was raised on. Like my mom was very big on like whoever came over, whether it be like a sudden drop off, like my friends are over, like she always had food.
Oh,
She was
I agree.
always serving everybody, like even him, like he's met like my aunts and stuff and they're for the first time and they're like, keep eating, like
Aw.
serving him plates of
I feel
food.
like that's a big Hispanic thing though, because I grew
Yeah.
up on the same thing, and no matter how much we're struggling, my mom always tried to make it to where someone
Yeah.
else can eat because we always know how it's like to be hungry, and we always want to foster, you know, growth
Wow.
and be courteous to another. So yeah, that's a big one.
What a
Yeah.
powerful thing that you just said there of how, what a powerful statement of generosity. You know what I mean? That your mom instilled that in you to understand, you know, at that level and that both of you had that cultural experience that food is love.
Yeah.
And food can definitely be an expression of love. I grew up in a large Irish family. Food is not, that's not how they do it in most Irish families. Like that's not how it is. But I grew up 2 doors down from a large Italian family, and that's definitely how they did it. You know, if you walked into their house, it was like hugs, food, and it was definitely love expressed through community eating, which I thought was like, I was completely all in on that. That seemed like such a wonderful way to be able to build community in your household.
Definitely. And it was just like the generosity I was raised on, like not even just my mom, my dad's the same way.
Yeah.
So very like generous and like food motivated, and just that's just how they showed their love. Every Sunday we'd invite a bunch of people over for like Sunday barbecues. My dad was always on the grill. Like he would kick me off multiple times
Amazing.
because that was his area of expertise. But I just want to be able to display that, like that same feeling that I felt, that generosity, that love, through not even just through me as a person, but through the food I'm serving. Like, I want you to eat this plate of whatever I just made and want to go back for a second plate without feeling guilty about it.
Her dad is a good chef. I always go back for seconds.
Really?
He is a really good cook.
Well, I think that this is a beautiful way for us to be able to crest the first hour and head into the second hour, because I think the first hour is all about understanding our past.
Yeah.
And it's clear that food was love for both of you, and
Yeah.
that it was an expression of the way that that you could show affection to anybody that you were around, and a huge symbol of generosity and community. And to me, that sounds like that is at the very core of what the two of you are trying to build in the direction that you're moving with your own restaurant and your own vision for where that's going to go. So my suggestion is that I'm going to take the third question, which you can open later on. These questions are for you guys. They're only your questions. No one will ever get these questions again.
Okay.
And I say we move on to the second hour, which is where we start to talk about how you take what you've learned from the experience that you've had of your past. Not only just what you're doing at the restaurant, but the experiences that you had with your families, the hardships, the triumphs, all of those things. And these questions start getting us into how do you turn that into the present? How do you take those things that you've learned and convert them into the way that you build your actions of today?